$10,200 for a Chanel Classic flap? Are you kidding me? If you're thinking about buying a Chanel Classic flap, stay tuned for the 6 reasons why you shouldn't buy the Chanel Classic flap. And in the end, I'll tell you why I won't be buying classic flaps, why I sold my classic flap, and how I feel about them in general. Hey friends, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and I love to do videos on luxury handbags, shoes, ready to wear, some styling videos, and I do those things from the perspective of somebody who is in the middle of her life, as well as someone who is mid-size. So if that sounds interesting, go down, click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know every time I upload a video. So many of you know that I've referenced in different videos that I had a classic flap that I sold. And I've mentioned it, like I said, in several videos and said I'm going to film a video about why I got rid of my classic flap and all those things. And Dale, this one's for you because I know you keep asking, when is that video coming? Well, today's the day, my friend, because Chanel just dropped their biggest price increase, at least in the United States, I think, than they have in their history. And it is unbelievable. And so I was gonna film a different video today and upload a different video tomorrow. Today I am filming this on March 2nd, which is the day that the price increases went into effect. So I thought, you know what? Forget what I was gonna film, let's do this now, because if there was any time to film a why you shouldn't buy a Chanel Classic flap, today is the day. So let's get into the 6 or so reasons why I don't think you should buy a classic flap. And let's do the elephant in the room one, and that is the price. Let's go over the new Chanel pricing as published on PursePop. You can go onto the Chanel website or the Chanel app and see these prices there too. Although when I was looking last night, most of them were posted, but for some reason the jumbo price wasn't posted yet. I'll pop up here on the screen the prices that we have seen in a lot of the different countries. So I will post pricing here for the United States, for Canada, for the UK, and for Europe. Unfortunately, PursePop didn't have pricing for Australia. I assume that our Australian and Asian friends did not escape this price increase. So if you're from any one of those areas and would be willing to share what your prices are for the classic flaps down below, that would be great. I'm sure that would be helpful for some of us here. But this is unreal. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Now, we've had big price increases before. You know, we were at $6,800 for the medium classic flap, and then it went to $7,800 for the medium, and then it went to $8,800. And it's been $8,800 since, if I'm not mistaken, October of 2021, because it went up right after I got the classic flap from Paris from our trip to Europe that year. And I remember coming back and I was sitting on the couch with David and I saw the announcement come through and I was like, oh wow, I just made $1,000 on my bag and I didn't do a thing. So it's been, I know Europe has taken a pretty big price increase recently, so their prices didn't go up quite as much as they did in the United States, but the reason for those price increases was the price leveling and to do with how the euro was doing as it compared to the US dollar. So they were trying to even things out because, as you probably know, many people were buying some pretty inexpensive tickets to Europe to go over and buy Chanel bags because at the time, the conversion rate for the euro to the US dollar was either 1-to-1 or even a little bit better. So when the prices were below, you were getting a bag for an amazing price if you bought it in Europe. I personally think that this increase is insane. In the United States, we are now going to pay, well, not we, maybe you, I'm not going to pay $10,200 plus tax. You know, that's the one thing that bothers me when they do this whole harmonizing thing or whatever, is that it's not really harmonized, because in the United States, we still have to pay tax. Say your tax is 10%. You are now going to be paying over $11,000 for a classic flap. So even though in Europe the prices did go up, that includes your VAT tax already. So, I mean, what the sticker is what you pay. So that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't understand why they don't take that into effect when they're harmonizing pricing, is to deal with, like, Canada and United States both have sales tax that we pay above and beyond what the price is on the bag. In Canada, I think some of their locations are like 13%, which is insane. I'm so sorry, Canadians. But anyway, I digress. But the point is that the medium classic flap in the United States is now $200, a mere $200 less than a Birkin 25. The new price on a Birkin 25 in Togo leather in the United States is $10,400. Somebody explain this insanity to me, because I don't know in what world a Chanel classic flap should essentially be the same price as a Birkin 25. And I know that the Birkin is not for everybody. I know that there are a lot of, Hermes haters out there, or it just simply doesn't appeal to you. But I think we can all agree that Hermes quality is like up here. And Chanel is, I don't know, somewhere down here, but it's certainly not up to Hermes standards. So the fact that you're paying basically the same price for those bags just baffles my mind. In fact, I'll pop a picture up here of the current Hermes pricing, and you can see they actually had, for Hermes, a fairly significant price increase. Hermes raised their prices this year an average or so of like 5 to 6%. There were, definitely some higher ones, especially if it was on some of the exotic leathers, but like the Birkins only went up like 2 to 3%. It seemed like the Kellys were the ones that took kind of the bigger hits, the more like 6, 7%. But on average, if you kind of look, it fell in the 5 to 6% range. The increases for these Chanel flaps are in the like 16, 17, 18% price increase, which, like I said, at this cost of a bag is just crazy. I know that there are die-hard Chanel fans out there, and honestly, if you're dropping $50,000, $100,000 on ready-to-wear, you don't care, obviously, that the Chanel Classic flap went up 16% or 18%, whatever it was. You don't care. You're gonna buy it anyway. You're a VVIP. You get first dibs at everything, and you're gonna buy as many classic flaps as you want because of your status. But for the rest of us normal humans, it's gotten to a point that I think a lot of people are going to be turned away. I'm gonna pop up a picture here from one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and I'm in several luxury Facebook groups, and this one just like cracked me up. It's basically like, goodbye, friends. See you later. Like, this person is done. Like, this is crazy, crazy pricing we're talking about here. So number one reason not to buy a classic flap, it's just frankly not worth the money. Second reason why you shouldn't buy a Chanel classic flap is that they're not very practical. They're not designed very well for the modern times. Now, I understand that, it's a classic and that you don't want to, just because times have changed and we have different needs, we have large cell phones, whatever, that you don't necessarily have to totally redesign a bag. But this bag, honestly, even I think from the get-go, was not designed very well. It is not user-friendly. The double flap makes it very difficult to get in and out of it. The double flap makes it so you can't carry very much in the bag, and it is not going to be an everyday bag. Now, for a lot of people, the Chanel Classic Flap doesn't have to be an everyday bag, and a lot of people will use it for more special occasions or that, but to spend $10,200 for a special occasion bag, I ain't got that kind of money to be paying that much for a bag that I'm going to use like 2 times a year. In addition to the double flap making it harder to get in and out of, it makes the bag heavier. So you put your stuff in it, which we'll get to that in a minute, about how much it can hold, and you're already starting out with a pretty heavy bag because of the double flap, and then you put your stuff in it and now it's really heavy. So reason number 2 for me is it's just not a practical bag to use. Third reason not to buy a Chanel Classic Flap is the chain length. Now, if you're super petite, and I'll pop a picture up here of Je Suis Lou, who we all love, and she's fantastic, but she's like 5 foot, I think, if I remember what she says in her video. So for her, crossbody works. Although if you look at one of the pictures I'm popping up, it's even pretty high on her. Now, I think she's wearing a pretty oversized blazer, so that's probably why it's, taking up a little more of the chain length because of that. But that's what we wear, okay? So even if you're not, forget if you're even curvy, you are not going to be able to wear this bag crossbody. And that's how most people want to wear their bags these days. And unless you're going to get the chain extended like Amelia did from Amelia Rose's Closet, and I'll link her video down below where she goes and talks about the whole process that she went through of sending it to leather surgeons and getting the chain extended, which is just an additional cost, by the way. And now if she ever wanted to sell that bag, she's altered the bag. So now it's not a classic flap anymore. It's a classic flap with an extended chain, which will definitely impact the resale value of that bag. Unless you want to do that, it is not a practical bag to carry because of the current chain length. Reason number 4 is, I said this before, but it's not really an everyday bag. And I say that because it honestly doesn't carry that much. I mean, even for somebody like me, I don't carry that much. I generally carry a mini pochette, a 6-ring key holder, a card holder of some kind, my AirPods, and maybe a pair of sunglasses. And honestly, I don't think that really fits even in a medium classic flap. Honestly, the medium classic flap is not that much bigger or can hold that much more than what you can put in a mini flap. And you can get one of those, even though those went up in price too, for still less than half the price of a classic flap. So again, if you're trying to find a bag that you're going to use a lot, the classic flap is not it. And again, if you're going to spend $10,200 plus tax on a bag that you are going to want to use it a lot, right? Like I said, I personally don't want to spend over $11,000 on a bag that's going to sit on my shelf except for the 2 times a year that I'm going to wear it. That's just not how I roll. Maybe it's how you roll, but it's not how I roll, and it's certainly not what my budget permits. The 5th reason are quality issues. Now, I'm not saying that other houses don't have quality issues. We've all seen a million videos on Louis Vuitton quality issues. I know there's videos out there on like Saint Laurent quality issues. We've seen some from Fendi, right? Especially on the sequin baguettes where the sequins are coming off. So I'm not saying that Chanel is unique in this issue, but again, when you factor in the price of the bag, to have bags where the flap is crooked, and I'll insert, some pictures if I can find some up here, like from the Purse Forum, of people with crooked flaps, and then to have a sales associate tell you, oh, it's not crooked, you're just not looking at it right. No, I'm looking at it just fine. It's like this, it's very easy to tell when a flap is crooked because you have a frame of reference, right? You have these quilts and you can see, if this side is dipped lower and that, half a quilt can't be seen on this side, but you can see it on this side, the flap is not straight, okay? I think it was Hello Catwalk City, Hannah, who I think returned 2 classic flaps because of issues straight when she got them home from the boutique. I think one had like a loose stitch, and I can't remember what the other one was, but I'm pretty sure that she has returned like 2 in a row because of quality issues. We've heard of hardware chipping or tarnishing even in like buying it straight from the boutique. I'll post a little snippet of somebody's question from the Purse Forum who literally had just bought a bag from the boutique, and when she looked at the grommets on the underside of the flap, they were all tarnished. And then she showed a picture, I don't think I took a screenshot of this, but a picture of when she like cleaned the grommets using that, like the cleaning cloth that comes in the Chanel boxes. And there was like black all over this. Like, you shouldn't have to do that with a brand new bag. I understand that there's going to be wear and tear on bags, and that things are going to happen, and corners are going to get scuffed, and you might scratch it with your nails, and you know, and hardware might eventually tarnish a little bit, you know, or chip, hopefully not. But to have this happen, or to find this on a brand new bag, in my mind, is unacceptable. The last reason you shouldn't buy a classic flap is if you think it's because you should. In my mind, should is almost like a 4-letter word. Like, you shouldn't have to have anything in your collection. The only bags you should have in your collection are bags that you love, that make your heart sing, that make you smile every single time you take it out of the dust bag, or you pull it off your shelf, or wherever you store your bags. Those are the bags that should be in your collection, not because a YouTube creator said, in order to have the perfect luxury handbag collection, you need to have a classic flap. You don't need, and I've said this way more times than I probably should have, but you don't need any of these bags in your collection. What you want to have in your collection are, like I said, those bags that just make you smile, that just make you so happy every time you buy one. Now, if that's how you feel when you hold a classic flap, or when you carry a classic flap, then more power to you. Then go drop your $10,200 plus tax on a classic flap. But please don't, because you think that you should own one. So those were the 6 reasons why I don't think you should be buying a classic flap, especially not now with the prices as they are. But let's talk about why I sold my classic flap. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but y'all know how that goes on my channel. So I think it was the 21P collection, I actually bought a pink iridescent lambskin classic flap I got, and it was beautiful, and it was sitting on the shelf, and it was beautiful, and it glistened, and the iridescent was gorgeous, but I just thought, you are too beautiful, and I am going to be scared to death to wear this bag. And so I sent it back. Fast forward to when David and I were going to Europe for our sort of belated 25th anniversary, early 30th anniversary trip. And I knew we were going to Paris because obviously, you know, we had the whole appointment at Hermes, and I'll link that somewhere here, the videos of how I got my offer for my Birkin. But I knew that we were going to be in Paris, and, you know, Rue Cambon, you know, that was just, it was like, you have to go, right? It's one of those bucket list things for a luxury lover. And I had sold a bunch of things in preparation for this trip, and I had a whole bunch of money saved up to buy, you know, items while I was in Europe. And one of the things I thought I should buy was a Chanel classic flap. I thought, okay, first of all, I'm going to be in Paris. I'm going to be at the Rue Cambon store. I'll get the white packaging. Even with the exchange rate being not great, it was definitely not in the US favor at that time. It was still less expensive to buy it in Europe, even with paying customs on it. And so I'm like, I have to, right? I mean, this is like required of me if I'm a true luxury lover. Like, I have to get a black Chanel classic flap at the Rue Cambon store. Like, it's just, like, if I didn't, people would think I'm crazy. So I did. I have to say, I did not think the experience was fantastic. I thought that the sales associate, frankly, was not super helpful, not very kind. Now, I'm going to tell a little bit of a sort of a tangential story, but this is probably one of the reasons that kind of played into why I didn't love it. So for those of you, if you haven't traveled to Europe and come back, when you leave Europe, you can go to these machines. They're called the Pablo machines. And I can do a whole video on the whole VAT and back, VAT tax rebates and customs and all that separately. But when you go up to these machines and they give you these forms when you buy luxury items, and you scan them at the machines, and it either gives you a green light or a red light. And the green light means you basically don't have to do anything, you're good. And the red light means you have to take the package, you take the item and show it to the customs agent. They have to make sure that, you really have the item, that you're, taking it from the country, etc. So I got a green light on the form for the Chanel Classic Flap. And then when I got home and we were checking, because we had the apps and we could check with the different couple of VAT refund companies, that there was an issue with the one. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. Like I said, I can go into that in a different video. So you're not supposed to use your items until you've gone through customs and until it's been like cleared or whatever. So basically my classic flap, because of this issue that I was having with customs and the French government and all that, made it so that my classic flap was literally just sitting on the shelf, not getting used. I mean, it had, all of the protective stickers on it, everything in pristine condition in the dust bag, because I couldn't use it. So then that finally all got resolved, and it continued to sit on the shelf. And every so often I would take it and I would, put it on my shoulder, and I'd be like, oh, it's so pretty. And it is, it's a beautiful bag. But when I look at what I love and what I love to carry, it's just not me. It's not my style. It's too perfect. It's too ladylike. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good vintage, classic flap. And if there's going to be any classic flap that I add to my collection, it will be a vintage one. Why? One, they're better made. Two, they have the 24 karat gold hardware on them as opposed to just the cheap metal or whatever it is that they're using now. And three, they just have that more lived in look. And every time I looked at that bag, I just saw perfection and this like very structured, not user-friendly, I tried putting my things in it a couple times. I literally never used the bag, not once. It never left my house. I don't even think I took a picture with it. It sat on the shelf, like I said, from the end of September when we got home until I think I sold it in about June or so of the following year. It made me feel bad because it's just sitting there and I'm not using it. And I thought to myself, why did you buy this bag, Lisa? And I bought it because I thought I should. Again, there's that word again, that 4-letter word, should. And it just like kind of ate away at me. And, you know, I would love to get maybe like one of the seasonal ones. Like I would love to get the one that Dale has, the like the Franken bag one. Just something that's cool and different, or like I said, a vintage one that just has that worn in, lived in look. Like that I can see rocking. I'd be willing to go send it to leather surgeons and have the chain extended so that I could wear it crossbody. The sort of pristine, very structured, like I said, just, I don't know. Maybe it's just a feeling maybe that I can't express, but it's just not me. It's just not my style. You know, I'm not the, you know, prim and proper dressing kind of person. Not to say that you have to dress prim and proper to carry a classic flap. I mean, I certainly could have rocked that bag with, you know, leather moto jacket and jeans and, you know, boots or whatever, or with, you know, frankly, a hoodie and a pair of sweatpants. Like you can wear it with anything. I hope that nobody thinks that I'm saying that you have to wear a bag in a certain way or with a certain style of clothing. You don't, but it just, to me, even though I could wear it with that, it just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. You know, part of me thought, oh, well, you should keep it because maybe one of the girls will want it later down the line, and God only knows how much it's going to be if they want one. Well, hello, it's over $10,000. I mean, honestly, by the time one of the girls might want a classic flap, that bag's going to be probably over $15,000. I mean, it will be insane. So there was like a tiny part of me that thought about keeping it just for that reason. But I thought to myself, no. I mean, it could be 10, 20 years before either girl wanted that bag. And to have that kind of money sitting on the shelf, just, you know, I couldn't do it. I definitely could use the funds for other things. And, you know, we could get a vintage classic flap or something for them if that's what they wanted. So that is why I sold my classic flap. So those are the reasons I don't think you should buy a classic flap now. There's the reasons why I sold my classic flap. Tell me in the comments below, do you own a classic flap? Do you love it? Are you still going to buy classic flaps now that they're over $10,000, $11,000 with tax? Are you still going to be buying Chanel classic flaps? So like I said, let's have a chat in the comments below about what you think. Let us know what you think about the price increases. Do you think they're insane? Do you think they're warranted, given the fact that the US, for example, has not seen a price increase in about 13 months or so? Is this going to turn you off from buying Chanel? Let's have a chat below. Thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And again, if you haven't subscribed and want to join us here, click the subscribe button down below. And wherever you are, I hope you are having an amazing day or evening, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.